Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my do not draft running back list for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be talking about 4 running backs that I am not looking to pay the price for in fantasy football drafts right now, based upon where they are going at current average draft position. In yesterday's video on the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, I talked about my do not draft wide receiver list, so I figured I would piggyback off that thought and talk about running backs today. Now, like I said before, much of the reasoning behind why any player or a running back in this case is a do not draft candidate is because of their average draft position. If these players were to fall further back in the draft, I'd be like, fine, drafting some of these guys, but based upon where they are going right now is much of the reason why I'm going to be avoiding them, and I will be talking about that in today's video. But before I get into the breakdown of these 4 running backs, I'd like to ask if at any point inside of today's video you guys end up enjoying, end up having a great time, to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, me and the guys at the Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel post videos every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. I would also really appreciate it if you do end up enjoying this video to hit that like button, whether you are new or not, to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see this do not draft running backs video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first player I want to be talking about today is ADP running back number 19 overall, pick 44.1, Miles Sanders, running back of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, going into last season, a lot of people were starting to get really high up on Miles Sanders. They were talking about how all the running backs are gone behind Miles Sanders, and it was finally time to see this guy get a nice scrumptious workload in this backfield. And even when he was really given the opportunity to be the lead back on the team, he just was not all that successful. In the offseason, they let go of head coach Doug Peterson. They bring in Nick Sirianni, and they also go ahead and make a humongous switch for at least this season at the quarterback position, with likely Jalen Hurts becoming the starting quarterback of the team. Now, there are rumors surrounding around Deshaun Watson becoming the quarterback, but for today's video, the assumption is going to be that Jalen Hurts is the guy in Philadelphia. Last year, Miles Sanders in 12 games finished as the running back 23 in PPR, 23.5 PPR, and the running back 21 in standard, averaging 14.2 PPR points per game, 13.5 PPR points per game, and 11.9 standard points per game, meaning from a points per game perspective, Miles Sanders was the running back 20 in PPR, 19.5 PPR, and the running back number 16 in standard, tied with Antonio Gibson. For his stats last season, he had a grand total of 164 carries, 13.7 per game, ranking 21st at the running back position. He had 871 rushing yards, 72.6 per game, 14th at the running back position, 52 targets, 28 receptions, and 197 receiving yards, ranking 32nd at the running back position for a grand total of 6 total touchdowns. Now, Miles Sanders had just about an all-right season last year, and if I'm being completely honest with you, that is exactly what I'm going to be projecting for fantasy football in 2021. I think that Miles Sanders is still going to be in a backfield where he is not going to be the lone workhorse running back. I think guys that are behind him are going to still be getting touches. Boston Scott is still going to be behind him. They bring in former running back of the Detroit Lions, Kerryon Johnson. They bring in Kenneth Gainwell via the NFL draft, and I just feel as though Miles Sanders will never truly be given the opportunity to be the lone back in this backfield, and I just do not see too much upside in this offense for Miles Sanders to really pay off at the ADP that you're drafting him as the running back number 19. To me, I see no upside in a potential top 12 season this year for Miles Sanders. I think a lot of the time that this team ends up marching their way up to the red zone, up into the goal line, that Jalen Hurts is going to call his own number and rush the ball in. I also think there's going to be many times in these games where it seems like Miles Sanders might start picking it up, and then they bring in other running backs in relief of Miles Sanders. I just don't feel as though this guy is talented enough to be a true workhorse on this team, and I think if he was talented enough, then I'm not even sure that the Philadelphia Eagles would allow him to be that true workhorse running back for fantasy football in 2021. So at running back 19, I am just looking to fade Miles Sanders. I don't feel anything special about Miles Sanders. With a lot of running backs that go later in the draft, you have this thought when you draft them that, hey, maybe this is a guy that if everything goes well, he can be a top 12 running running back. And I think that there are a whole lot of things going against Miles Sanders that could stop him from being a top 12 running back. So I'm going to go ahead and fade him. I'd much rather just wait another round and draft a guy like Mike Davis that is going around that same range, a guy like Myles Gaskin. It just seems like where Miles Sanders is going is too high for a running back with as many question marks as Miles Sanders. Now, down below, if you guys are Miles Sanders fanatics like some people are, let me know down below. Let me know why you think Miles Sanders is a must-draft running back or a guy that you are happy taking in your 2021 fantasy football drafts. You can talk about that in the comment section with myself. I always answer down there if you have any questions about any of these players. Next running back up here is running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. ADP running back number 20, Josh Jacobs, overall pick 54.7. If I'm being completely honest with you guys, Josh Jacobs is actually one of my favorite running backs in the NFL, and I think you can make an argument that he is a top 12 running back skill set wise inside of the National Football League. But does John Gruden believe that? Probably not, because you know what John Gruden decided to do in this offseason? He decided to get up on the phone, or maybe the GM did it, the owner did. I don't know who is leaving these phone calls for these players to sign them in free agency, but he calls up Kenyon Drake and he says, Kenyon Drake, I would love if you would go ahead and come to Las Vegas to join the Raiders. And you know what that tells Josh Jacobs, at least in my mind, that he just got slapped in the face, front hand, backhand, by the management of Las Vegas, because Josh Jacobs, going into last season, was talked up as a dual threat running back, meaning he's going to be seeing an increased workload in the receiving game. He was going to be seeing a lot more targets in 2020, and that was a blatant fucking lie. They lied straight to our face about that, but he still put up a pretty solid season last year, even without this immense uptick in receiving work. In 15 games, he finished as the running back 8 in all formats, that being PPR, half PPR, as well as in standard, averaging 15.4 PPR points per game, 14.3 half PPR points per game, and 13.2 standard points per game, meaning from points per game perspective, Josh Jacobs was the running back 15 in PPR, 13 half PPR, and the running back 11 in standard. His stat sheet last season looked mighty fine. 273 carries, 18.2 per game, ranking third at the running back position. 1,064 rushing yards, 70.9 per game, ranking eighth at the running back position. He also had 45 targets, which wasn't much of an uptick from 2019. 24th at running back, 33 receptions, not much of an uptick. 238 receiving yards, not much of an uptick, and a grand total of 12 total touchdowns, fourth highest at the running back position. And I agree, like I was saying earlier, that Josh Jacobs was given a lot of opportunity in his first 2 seasons in the NFL, and he played very, very well. But the management clearly does not want Josh Jacobs to be the true workhorse running back that you're looking for in fantasy football. Coming off the board at running back number 20, his top 12 potential is basically handcuffed by Kenyon Drake. If Kenyon Drake was not there, or if they brought in a running back that wasn't of the pass-catching prowess of a Kenyon Drake, then I would not be here telling you not to draft Josh Jacobs, because running back 20 is a pretty solid spot to be drafting a running back like Josh Jacobs. But Josh Jacobs also now has Kenyon Drake, who is going to be taking that receiving work away and was a pretty solid running back for all intensive purposes last season in Arizona. Now, he was a bust for fantasy football because me included, were drafting him a little bit too high to where he ended up finishing, but he was a fine running back last year, so I do expect him to really eat into Josh Jacobs' role, which is something that Devontae Booker or the other myriad of running backs behind him were not doing last season. So Josh Jacobs is a running back that I am kind of turning my head to and not really looking to draft for fantasy football in 2021. Now, we are about halfway into today's video, so please make sure, if you have ended up enjoying thus far, to hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you hit that like button as well. Next running back here is rookie running back out of North Carolina, Javonte Williams of now the Denver Broncos. ADP at the running back position, number 23, overall pick 62 and a half. Now, coming out of college, Javonte Williams was one of my favorite running backs to watch the tape of, and there's a good reason why he was drafted early on in the second round. As a Miami Dolphins fan, I thought that he was going to be a target to my team, but obviously the Broncos traded up ahead of my Dolphins just to take him, so that means that the Broncos have a lot of confidence in him if they're willing to trade up for him. But what I'm not willing to do is buy in on this first-year running back, who in my opinion is going to be in a nasty split share for fantasy fantasy football. I believe without injury to either of these running backs, again, knock on wood, we do not root for injuries here, but without an injury to Melvin Gordon, I believe that Javonte Williams will be about as useful as a used condom. In the same sense, I believe that without an injury to Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon will be served as useless for fantasy football in 2021. Last year, Melvin Gordon for the Denver Broncos played a majority of the games without Phillip Lindsay, and Melvin Gordon was dominant. He beat his ADP by a lot because a lot of people, including myself, were off of Melvin Gordon last year because we thought, hey, this is going to be a true split share between Melvin Gordon and between Javonte Williams. But if you look at it in 2019, now I understand Phillip Lindsay is not in the team anymore, or on the team anymore, he's in Houston, but I want to use this as a similar scenario. Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay is similar to Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. The counter argument to that is that Phillip Lindsay was an undrafted free agent, but Phillip Lindsay was a pretty solid running back when he was given the workload in Denver. In 2019, both Gordon and Phillip Lindsay were healthy, and we see a very close snap share between the two. Melvin Gordon with a 35.6% snap share, and 32.1% of the snaps went to Phillip Lindsay. This is why I am super nervous with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon, because I think they could be seeing a very even share of the touches and the share of the snaps on this offense. This is also the final year of Melvin Gordon's contract, and it's the rookie year of Javonte Williams. So why not let Javonte Williams coast through a little, split the carries, and then in 2022, you fully fucking unleash the Javonte Williams experiment into the NFL, and he can ball out in 2022. And I can easily see that scenario, but I can see the scenario for this year being that, hey, it's Melvin Gordon's last year. We're not bringing him back because we drafted Javonte Williams in the second round. We traded up to do it. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to run Melvin Gordon into the deep dirt. We're just going to run him until he needs to take that big dirt nap, and he's done at the end of the year. With Denver, he rushed for however many yards they end up giving him enough touches to get, and then boom, he's done. And then in 2022, we have an amazing Javonte Williams season. That is my expectation. My expectation is that this is a very close snap share, a very close touch share, and Javonte Williams is never really able to beat out Melvin Gordon because Melvin Gordon is just going to be getting fed the touches because it's his last year, and why would they not run him into the ground? Last year at college, Javonte Williams was dominant, like I said. 11 total games, 157 rushing attempts, 1,140 rushing yards, 7.3 per carry, 25 receptions, 30 targets, 305 receiving yards, and 22 total touchdowns while splitting work with Michael Carter. They were a strong 1-2 punch at the collegiate level, but I believe this is going to be exactly that in the NFL, a 1-2 punch of Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So I'm staying clear away from Javonte Williams at running back 23. His ADP is going to continue to rise as more hype comes out about Javonte Williams. I know this opinion that I have right here that I'm sharing is probably a hot take because a lot of the opinion of fantasy football analysts is that Javonte Williams is going to easily beat out Melvin Gordon, put him in some type of stranglehold, and then just become the lead back on the team. But if I'm being honest with you, based on the current trends that I've seen of the Denver Broncos under the same head coach, this is going to be a nasty split share for the team, and you're going to hate to see it if you draft Javonte Williams at pick 62, running back 23, and he's going to keep moving up, like I said, because the rookie hype always happens in the summer. We're going to hear something out of training camp that Javonte Williams looks like the second coming of whatever running back you want to say, Dalvin Cook version 2, Christian McCaffrey number 2 or something. They give him these crazy-ass nicknames, and then they never live up to it. I think this is going to be a 2022 breakout season for Javonte Williams, but pump the brakes in 2021. Final running back to talk about here, since I wanted to include 4 players. This one is a bit of a stretch, but is it really? The reports that have came out recently about Saquon Barkley has me shivering me timbers. I am quite fucking nervous right now. Now, again, we're talking right now, it's July 22nd, so by the time you're drafting in late August, early September, we should have a pretty good idea on what Saquon Barkley's health looks like after he tore his ACL last season. He's coming off the board right now as running back 6, overall pick 6.9. Very nice, Saquon Barkley. I like 6.9. Very funny. So, Saquon Barkley is a great running back, and that can't be disputed. There's no way you can dispute that Saquon Barkley is amazing, because he is. But when you have a running back coming off the ACL, modern medicine's great, so I'm not too worried, but there's a lot of talk about a snap reduction, a load management, a maybe I'm not ready for week 1 for Saquon Barkley, which scares me. I'm not trying to draft a running back in the first round that is going to be on a significant load reduction weeks 1 through 4. Now, this could be completely wrong, like I said, which is why I'm not going to go super heavy into Saquon Barkley. Right now, if you're doing your fantasy football draft with your buddies or with people at work or whoever you draft with, and it's July, I'm not really looking to draft Saquon Barkley. I'm just not. Because I'm a little bit nervous about him getting that snap reduction, the load management, or whatever you want to call it, where he's just not getting the ball as much. Now, if we know that there's a clear date that, hey, he's going to get a load reduction for the first 2 games, then you happily draft him in the first round because there's 17 games in the season. There's going to be 15 other games in which Saquon Barkley is the workhorse running back that you want for fantasy football. So go ahead and do that. But if it comes out that's going to be 4 games, or maybe it's going to be up to 5 games, that I'm severely backtracking up on Saquon Barkley. I still believe he's an amazing running back and can do great things, but when you're on a snap reduction for that many games, things start to get worrisome and you start to fall outside of the first round. Saquon Barkley's stats last year were nothing special. Didn't even finish as a top 100 running back, but only played in 2 games, and those 2 games were up against pretty tough defenses last year. He had 19 total carries for 34 rushing yards. He had 9 targets, 6 receptions, 60 receiving yards, and no total touchdowns on the season. Up against the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1, this guy got locked inside of like a mime inside of a fucking box. He could do nothing up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had to resort to just dumping off the ball to him and hoping he'd be able to get open in space, and he's finished as not the worst running back that week, but week 2 up against the Chicago Bears, he got hurt so fast that his stats are nothing special. Again, Saquon Barkley is one of the most elite running backs in the NFL and in fantasy football, but when the doctors, when the team are seeming to be nervous and Saquon doesn't even know what to say about his week 1 eligibility, then I'm going to be nervous and stamp him as a do not draft running back. Right now, like I said, all things could change by the time there's an updated version sometime in August. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you did end up enjoying, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, we put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 Fantasy Football Championship. I love each of you guys so much. Thank you for watching all of the videos on here. Follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards tomorrow in a live stream. Me and Dave talking it up at, I think, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm saying it anyways. 4 p.m. EST live stream. See you guys there tomorrow. Good boy.